Have you ever had a game that you've never heard about before, and then you come across this game and it's the best thing since sliced bread? This is kind of the story of this game. So I was lurking in people's streams and I got hold of conversations of Digimon World Re Digitize Decode. Trust me, it took me a long time to learn this name. So I knew that there was a PlayStation Portable version that was kind of wonky, which was okay. And I have to admit, my bar for Digimon games is either they're like the greatest thing ever, like Digimon World 1, Digimon World Next Order, the Cyber Sleuth games in limited regard, or they are like complete clusterfucks. And I didn't hold this game to a high regard. So when I found out that there's a 3DS remake version of this game, I was like, okay, I will give it a try, because I also heard that people really like this game, people whose opinion I value a lot. So I was like, okay, I will give it a try, and I will try it on stream, because this could be fun. Digimon World 1 Device Hack was my first great project on this channel, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And what can I say? It was an interesting journey, which is kind of a boring answer, but we'll get to this, because this game is amazing. Absolutely amazing, but it has also huge flaws. So let's start with the easy part, the story. You have your typical Digimon story. You get sucked into the digital world, you select your protagonist, which is Tiger, or if you go to the New Game Plus, because there is New Game Plus in this, you play as Rina, which we know from other Digimon World games, Digimon story games. You have a trusted Agumon as your partner, because of fucking course it is Agumon. Have you seen the latest Digimon story trailer? In the intro you see an experiment going on, and someone with purple hair, oh who could it be, gets sucked into the digital world. And you get a call by this mysterious purple-haired woman we've never seen before. As much as I'm joking right now, I was actually surprised by how captivated I was by this story. I went to this game expecting your absolute standard bar Digimon World story, like with Next Order, but this story actually dragged me in. You get bits of pieces of the story as like notes and mails after every major events left behind by the big bad of this game, and it was actually captivating. It's a very weird comparison, but it reminded me of One Piece Unlimited Cruise of all games, a game that probably 3 people have played, where you also get bits and pieces after every event, and it's very cryptic and you don't know where it's going. So that was very surprising for me. So to start with the characters, you have your very average Joes as sidekicks. You have Yuya the edgy one, Akiho the kawaii one, and Nico the annoying one. And obviously later you get Mirei, which we know, and Rina, which we also know from Digimon World Next Order. Correct. The story itself has your very average Digimon story path. Obviously your plan is to get out of this digital world, get back into the real world. Then there are some complications. You have to save the digital world, you have to beat the big bad, which is in this case an entity called Vidium, which was developed by the big bad digital company in this game called Gigo. So you run around, the process is almost always the same. You have something called Stellar Memories or Stela Memories. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that, because as this is a fan translation, as this game never released in the West, the spelling changed from text box to text box to 1L and 2L, so I kept calling them Stellar Memorials. So the basic premise is you go to an area, go to the Memorial Stella, sometimes you have like a roadblock saying, oh, you need this prosperity points to continue, and you go to the next area, Memorial Stella, next area, Memorial Stella. This is basically the gist of the story. To get into the characters a little bit more, Yuya is part of the Gigo company. He's the edgy one, and he's probably, besides Mirei, because I love Mirei, probably my favorite character, because the writers of this game tried to give everyone character development, but for Yuya it felt like the character where it had the most effect. He went from I hate everyone here, I just do my own thing, I'll just beat everyone, to yeah, okay, maybe I need help, maybe empathy is a good thing. It's very basic, but I was glad to see his character development. It was great to see. Akiho, like I said, is the kawaii character, the kawaii quote-unquote weak character. There's not too much going on there. The same goes for Nico. Nico is the annoying one. He's kind of comparable to Ryuji in Persona 5, but without the correct character development, because even in the end he's still this annoying brat. My plan is the one that we have to go through, and yeah. Here are some tensions later between the characters, because there's actually a cutscene in the game where you have to decide which side you will choose, and I love this moment so much because I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting, this is new. I have not seen this in a Digimon World game in a long time, and then it got nullified because after the fight where you decide which side you go with, they were like, screw that, it doesn't matter, it had no effect, and that was very disappointing. In a normal Digimon game, I would be okay with this, but since this game tried to raise the bar, at least it felt like this, I was very disappointed by this letdown. As I mentioned before, Rina is added for this remake version, and we have Mirai taking a more active part. So I'm not an expert in Digimon lore, so I was very interested in seeing her backstory, and while it was very obvious, the only thing that's maybe kind of throwing you off is that she has long hair in the intro, which she does not have later, but it's very obvious that this is Mirai, and it's kinda weird. The game tries to sell you this as a huge plot twist. I was very interested in seeing her past and her very tragic backstory, and to get more context, because I came from Digimon World Next Order, I've played Digimon Cyber Sleuth, the first game, so I was very interested in, okay, what's the deal with her? Do we get her backstory? Do we get how she got here? Well, we got this in the intro, but it got confirmed later. Do we get more background into why can't she leave to the real world? Although it's becoming clear very fast, let's say it like that. So like I said, you go through the areas, you go to the Memorial Stela. A thing that I really enjoyed in this game is that you actually can digivolve the Digimon in the town, which gives you prosperity points. Some of the quests they have are very frustrating, but it did its job really well to flesh out the world, to have the Digimon more interact with each other. The city felt more alive, is what I want to say, and I enjoyed that. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that in Next Order, because this felt amazing. This felt like such a step forward from previous Digimon World games. So as you go to the Memorial Stelas, you collect these garbage data, which gives you, like I said, backstory information on how Vidium was created, how the father of Nico is involved into this, how we can help him, or if we do not help him, although this decision is does not really have that much of an effect as I wanted to, but it's fine. And for the main story of this game, you can go through it very fast in my opinion. From what I've read online, this game is divided into 3 acts. 2 acts were in the original game, and the 3rd act with Rina was added for this remake. And I have to admit, I believe they did not make a good job of implementing that 3rd part into this remake, because the final of the 2nd act does not get any room to breathe. You have your final fight against Vidium. It's a very hard fight. Compared to previous Digimon games, it feels like it is designed for you to use items because the stats of the enemies are so high. But then it's like, oh yeah, we're actually not through. Now comes the 3rd act with the 7 Demon Lords, and this is where a personal problem for me comes into play, because since this felt like the final, the end, and I did not Google anything about this game, I thought that this is just more of an epilogue, and I was like, okay, there will be 2 or 3 more fights and then it's over, and then we get an actual cutscene with Rina, and we get so much more, and we get side quests, and we get more fights, and it's kind of amazing. But for me, at least on stream, I think offline it would have felt different, but at least on stream it felt very unnatural, because in my mind I was already done with this game. I was like, okay, let's finish this, not because I was not enjoying it, but this game built the expectation of it's over now, and it wasn't. And yes, this is probably a problem on my part as well, because I was locked into the mindset of, okay, it's going to be over. And then my frustration kicked in when there was another side quest and another side quest and another side quest. And we will get to that because, oh my god, this was annoying. Anyway, before we get to the third act, I want to give a little bit more of a feedback to the second act, because there are, for example, cutscenes of your NPC friends where their Digimons are evolving. And I have not seen footage of this, but apparently some Digivolutions are missable or not in the game because I've not seen the footage of this. So I saw their rookies Digivolve into the champion level, and then I continued the story, went through the gameplay, and suddenly there was a cutscene and they just walked to me with their Mega Digimon. I was like, what the hell, when did this happen? I would have loved to see that. Did I miss that? Was that my fault? I'm actually not sure because I've not seen this online. But the more I looked up of this game, I was like, okay, apparently it's not in the game? I'm not sure. It felt weird that this is not mandatory. I'll give you a better explanation of my problems with the third act later. But for now, let's just finish the rambling about the story. So in the third act, you play as Rina, which is, like I said, a part of Decode only. Let's be honest, a lot of this is just side quests because you are in this Digitower after the final of the second act. And you have 5 more floors to go, which is not a lot. But on every floor, there's like a roadblock that tells you, we need another Digimon to continue here. Go and get that. So you get to the Digimon. And then you find out, for this Digimon, you need another Digimon. And for this Digimon, you need another item. But we'll get to that. I'm a little bit triggered. This is a soft spot. This game frustrated the shit out of me. But let's finish this the third act. We get all the roadblocks out of the way. We have an amazing final, in my opinion, because the final starts with you and Rina fighting together. So it's a 2v1 against the big bad of this area. And I was like, okay, let's hope this is not the final, because I had my problems with this game throwing you in a lot of battles as a 2v1. Which, again, it cuts to the idea of this game feeling like a hybrid between Digimon World 1 and Digimon World Next Order, where you have 2 partners. But then after you beat the first battle, you are now in another 2v1, but this time it's only Digimon against Digimon. So if you don't know, your NPC partner can use items, and they will, making the fights a lot easier. So when you go to the second fight and you only have another Digimon partner, he does not have the option to use items. So it's a little bit higher difficulty, a little bit. And then you get to the final fight, which is a fight against Lucemon Satan mode, which is a pure 1v1. And this fight was so hard and I loved it. I have to admit, I only found out later that there's an item you can use to weaken him, which I did not have, making this fight so much more difficult. But I enjoyed that so much. I only found out later as well that there's an item for the final of the second act to weaken Videum, which I think I had, but I like this option of, okay, if you explore the world, if you explore the story more, here is an item that helps you with the final fight. The final fight is not impossible without it, but it's hard. It's fucking hard. So yeah. So now that we are done with the story, let's continue with the gameplay. Like I said, the gameplay feels like a hybrid between Digimon World 1 and Digimon World Next Order. And I have to say, this game feels so fleshed out and obviously much more optimized than Digimon World 1. This is a personal preference, but I personally prefer having only one Digimon in opposite to Digimon World Next Order. So I preferred this game, the way of this game, how it handles the Digimon. And I have to say, the roster in this game is amazing as well. It's not the greatest one. I know people complain that the roster in Digimon games are not that diverse, but for someone like me who is kind of a Digimon boomer and only watched parts of later seasons, this roster felt like perfect, especially for the time when this game came out. Another huge addition I love in this game, which I was talking about in my Digimon World Vice video, is that they reduce the lifespan, so your Digimon does not get that old. And I love this change because it makes you use more gens, more Digimon, you cycle through more gens, and I love this so much. I don't have exact memory of how it is in Digimon World Next Order, but I think there the lifespan is higher, and I just don't like it. I like to go through more generations to train them up to see more diverse Digimon. It's amazing, it's so great. Unfortunately, obviously, there are some downgrades from Next Order, which is obvious because Next Order came out way back. So you have the special training where you have certain mini games depending on which stats you are leveling, and it's divided into 3 difficulties. The second difficulty is doable with most of them, except for the fucking fist thing to level up your defense stats, because holy shit, this feels like you have to do it frame perfect. And then there's the third stage of the training, which is the most difficult one. And I know I'm not a pro gamer, but some of them feel like impossible. And while I agree that they were most likely designed to be not doable all the time, this feels like a very strange decision. In general, I have to say I'm one who likes to optimize the shit out of a game, to play it absolutely perfectly, like the perfectly to a human extent. And this felt a little bit frustrating because you had to save, you had to reload, and it made it very frustrating. But this could, like I said, this is also on my part again, because I want to play it so optimized. And I have to say, in hindsight, I'm kind of glad on how this game like breaks you, slows you down, and forces you to be like, hey, play this game slower, you have to circle through more Digimon. Hey, you cannot train so optimally, just slow it down. And I like this a lot, especially because you have to remember this game was designed for a portable device. And obviously, if you design a game for a more portable device, for a more casual gaming experience, where you maybe play like more of 1 or 2 hours instead of like 5, 6, 7 hour sessions, you try to make the player slow down, which, like I said, in my opinion on stream it was very frustrating, but if I would have every time in the world, I'm like, this is a great decision, I like this a lot, and I like this angle of how they designed this game. A huge downgrade for me from Next Order as well was that the requirements for the next evolution are very vague. So if you go into the menu and you look up the next evolution, it's going to say something like, it needs to have a high attack, but also defense shouldn't be that bad. But it doesn't give you numbers. And the numbers, if you look them up, I don't think the wording is consistent, so you have to use a guide, which is kind of sad. And also, you cannot block evolutions, which is a huge issue later when you fulfill like every stat for every Digimon and you have to juggle the other requirements to get the Digimon you desire. Personally, I was able to get the Digimon I wanted almost all the time, but it was still like not being able to block Digimon evolutions is it's a feature I was very glad to have in Next Order, let's say it like that. In general, since there's no Western release of this game feels like Digimon World 1 on steroids in regards of like fake rumors and lackluster documentation. I had to look up so much for this game, and the problem is also, I have no idea why they moved that. You have no Angemon in this game, like in Digimon World 1, who says, hey, if you want to get the next Digimon, you have to go there. The only thing you get is in the 3rd act, because the developers kind of noticed, okay, the player has to do 27 side quests to get over this roadblock. Maybe we should give him mails to tell him what to do. But the game does not tell you how to get to 150 prosperity. Yes, you have Digimon telling you how to advance the main story, but if you want to go for like a perfection run of 100%, good luck. It's not documented anywhere, and if you look it up online, the documentation is very lackluster, especially at least in English. So just for your information, after I finished the stream and finished my recordings, I played like 30 hours more. Please note that this is with speed up, so maybe it was more like 15 or 20 hours, but I'm still not at full prosperity. I'm at, I think, 121, and the maximum is 150. So there's so much to go, and I have only like 3 Digimon where I'm like, okay, I could do this, this, and this to recruit them, but then I'm out of options. What do I do now? So So it's a very, very huge problem on what's needed for the side quests. And oh boy, let's get to the elephant in the room. My biggest complaint with this game is these quests, or the quests in this game, are designed like, do you know the Russian matroshka dolls? I'm sorry for my bad pronunciation maybe, but you know, these dolls within dolls within dolls within dolls. This game is the definition of that. So for this video, I actually wanted to create like a mind map or a chart of all the stuff that you have to do to finish the third act, or even later to get to 150 prosperity. But it is so much. I'm not over exaggerating when I tell you, you have a roadblock in the third act. The game tells you, okay, we need a Digimon. The first roadblock in the third act, the game does not actually tell you what to do. It just tells you, you need more Digimon in the city, which could mean everything. It's only after that first roadblock that the game gives you like vague mails, hey, you should go there, I've seen in the destiny that it will help you, which is okay, but it's still very, very vague. And the problem is, then you get to that Digimon, and then the game is like, yeah, this Digimon needs a specific item. So you're like, okay, what is it? And then you look it up, and it's an item that only spawns on RNG, or you have to fish a very, very specific fish. And you're like, okay, frustrating, but I can do that. Then you get the item, you go to the Digimon. Digimon tells you, yeah, this is great, but I actually don't want to go to the city right now. Please do this, this, and this to continue. And the worst part of all, and this plays into the aspect of this game trying to slow you down, which, like I said, you can say this is my problem, you can say this is a great game design to slow you down, to not rush through the story. But for me, most of the time it was just bad game design, and that's quests where the game tells you, thanks for the item, come back in 3 days. And 3 days in this game is a whole stage cycle. Like, you stay 3 days as a rookie, you stay 3 days as a champion, you stay 3 days as an ultimate. This is not a time that you can invest, and it's so frustrating, because even if you don't run through, like me, perfect play, whatever, optimize the game, it's still like, this has nothing to do with like player skill. It's like, yeah, just wait, fuck off and wait. And it's like, it was very, very frustrating. The quests dragged on and on and on. And another thing is, like I said, that it was very unclear of what you need to trigger quests or sub-events. For example, like I said, there is a battle tower. If you would have to guess whether this battle tower is necessary or optional to finish this game, or like the main story, you would probably choose it is not. But it is, and the game tells you not which battles are, because not every battle is mandatory, but there are random battles in the tournament where after you battle them, they suddenly are in the fields outside of town and have a sub-quest or a sub-event, and you're like, how the fuck am I supposed to know? Especially because there are also tournaments, and there is not a single tournament that advances the story. I think there's 1 or 2, but the game just tells you, hey, you have to do this tournament, which is fine. But the design feels so flawed, and it feels really like, I think the design at a remake came out a couple of years after the first game, but it feels like they had no time to implement the third act in a way they wanted, because it feels such a clusterfuck. It's such a chaotic design, and it was so frustrating that there were parts, if you look up the streams, you can actually see that I think the streams are 11 parts or 10 parts, and there are like 4 parts which have the name of let's finish this game, or the final stretch, because I was like, okay, I'm close to the end. Am I? No, I'm not. Okay, maybe next stream. Oh, I'm not. Maybe next stream. Oh, I'm not. And it's just, And the problem is, I'm a person that gets very, like, recency bias is a thing, but it's very, very bad for me. So there were points in the stream where I was so happy to finish the third act, and I was like, I don't want to sound like a douchebag when I'm like, oh, I'm so glad this game is finally over, because I enjoyed it. Like I said, I played 30 more hours after the recordings, but it was so frustrating. It's So yeah, there goes the rambling about the big bad elephant out of the way. And another thing is that you have to consider this game is in general very, very slow. You have no option to run. Your character walks average, let's say on an average speed, but the maps are way too big. Like even in the city, I feel like they did not have to make those parts so large. It just feels like you have to walk way too much, way more than you should have. And if you go into the overworld, the maps are way too big. What I mean by that is you go into a map which is like, I don't know, you need half a minute to cross the map, and there are like 3 Digimons you can fight, which is nothing, and there's nothing else. Yes, you have your random item drops, and you have your random Digimon to fight, and very rare special encounters, but the maps feel so empty. And I know that this is also a problem in Digimon World Next Order, but it felt even worse in this game. And thank God you have a fast forward button on an emulator, but I played the main story without fast forward, and I don't think I would have put in the additional 30 hours without a fast forward button, because holy shit, this dragged on so much longer than it had to be. In Digimon World Next Order, yes, it was slow as well, and you had to walk so much as well, but Digimon World Next Order gave you very clear instructions of how to get max prosperity, and it was not that matroshka doll style of design that I mentioned before. My very last complaint about this game is that the battles are kinda too easy, but this is another aspect where you can blame me, because I'm a person of, I fully prepare the next Digivolution and then I go into the overworld and do stuff. So you could say that I'm overpowering myself a little bit, but this is just my way of playing those games. And in general, the difficulty felt a little bit weird, because I had no problems with this game at all. And then there was a mandatory tournament fight in the battle tower, which you had to do, where like there's a level of the battle tower where you're not allowed to use items. And you could partly blame this on my Digimon not having the best techs, but I had no problem with the game's difficulty before that. And then this fight came up and it was so hard, and I was like, where's this difficulty spike coming from? This feels so weird, but this is like very nitpicky, so I'm just rambling about my last complaints. So to come to the end of this video, what is my final conclusion of this game? This video feels like the perfect encapsulation of what I feel about this game, of how I experienced it on stream. My rambling, my ranting about this game was probably longer in terms of minutes in this video than me being like, oh, this game is great, which was the same on stream. But I have to say, this game is amazing. I'm very curious about New Game Plus, because like I said, you start out with Rina, you get a Vmon as a partner, you carry over your stats, your unlocked evolutions, there's a hard mode. This is an amazing New Game Plus. I was very curious when I saw that there's a New Game Plus, and I'm very tempted to do like a challenge run or anything with that, because I want to play this game more. And now that I have, like, I know what to do for these very complicated side quests, I will have a more enjoyable experience. To be honest, if I had more time, I would have probably also done the additional 20 or 30 hours I did on stream, but in my opinion, I used so much fast forwarding on my offline playthrough, I don't think it would have been enjoyable to watch, especially because it was just me grinding evolutions, grinding, do side quests. So I think, like I said, this game is for like a single player, perfect online play. It's absolutely amazing. It's a great experience, and if you are able to get your hands on a French translation, please give this game a try. It really deserves it. In an ironic way, this game feels like the perfect encapsulation of everything I feel about Digimon games, because in their peak, these games are amazing, and there are very, very few games that tickle my, whatever you want to call it, my ADHD itches as much as Digimon World games do, with the grinding, with the evolutions, getting the Digimon, unlocking the stuff. And on the other side, they have so many flaws, or like they have flaws that should not be in a finished game. But in an essence, this is what makes Digimon for me. I just love this game so much. I love Digimon World 1. I will probably give the other Digimon World games that did not release in the West a try. Right now I have so many ideas on what to do next. Maybe, like I said, another quote-unquote lost Digimon World game. Maybe even Pokemon. Maybe even Trails. The new Trails game just came out. But from my experience with this game, I think for me personally, it's better to have a game to stream which has like 20 to 25 hours of playing time, because after a while I just get burnt out of it on streaming. So yeah. So thank you so much for watching this video, also for watching the streams. A special shout out to a quick nerd who interacted with me so much on the latest streams, and it made these streams so insanely more enjoyable for me, and it really showed me that this is what I want to do going forward, to play these games where I can optimize the crap out of them and interact with viewers simultaneously while playing these and play these more like unknown games, like an unreleased Digimon World game, maybe Trails game later, and then to cut together these playthroughs and ramble about them, give my opinion. So yeah, stay tuned for future projects. Like I said, they will be coming. Something will be coming, so do all that YouTube housekeeping stuff with subscribing, ringing the bell, and I will see all of you next time.